Welcome back. Entrepreneurship is for everyone is the theme for this year's Global Entrepreneurship Week, celebrated from November 18th to 24th. The aim is to inspire people from all walks of life across geographies, economies and demographics to explore entrepreneurship as a path forward. Now, joining us in studio is Niita Shikongo from BaseCamp, who will be leading activities around the week. Niita, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Nina. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm good. How are you?
I'm exceptional. Thank you.
Now, firstly, talk to us about the main goals for Global Entrepreneurship Week here in Namibia.
So, just to give you context, Global Entrepreneurship Week is something that happens annually, regardless of whether we're doing it in Namibia or not. So, it's a part of Gen Global, which is the Global Entrepreneurship Network. And as you said, it's a week-long series of activities that happen across the world. So Bangladesh has its own, Nigeria has its own, Germany has its own, and equally so BaseCamp, although we're barely over a year old, we decided to put together this week-long series of events to celebrate innovation and entrepreneurship in our country. And specifically coming back to the objectives, it's to facilitate startup growth, to encourage networking, collaboration within our ecosystem. I know it's still small, but obviously it starts with us pooling together our resources, to encourage knowledge sharing and of course to celebrate the startups that are pioneering within our industry.
Practically speaking, how does Global Entrepreneurship Week support and inspire young entrepreneurs within the country?
Yes, so as I said, there's a series of activities and events and they're different kinds. So depending on what kind of startup you are, where you are on your startup journey, you would then look out for whether it be a panel discussion oriented event, a pitching event, perhaps where you could get experience or perhaps even funding, or maybe just networking, trying to get the right person who could join your team, who could perhaps be a mentor, an advisor. There's so many different ways that our startups could benefit, and it's important that they come through and find, first of all, identify what you need before you come to the event, and then so much so it makes it easier for you to find that resource once you get to the event.
Let's say, for example, my startup is in ideation stage. How does GW benefit me?
Number one, knowledge sharing. A lot of our startups within our ecosystem, as BaseCamp being an incubator and also facilitator of entrepreneurial knowledge, what we've come to see is that a lot of startup founders have great ideas, but they don't have the entrepreneurial know-how. So that is the first step that you come to encounter at a lot of our events or engagements, learning how I can put the right team together, how do I manage my finances better, how do I put together a marketing strategy so that I'm in front of the right target audience and I'm able to convert that into sales. So as a startup in ideation phase, I think you've got a lot to learn, but then again, you can also expand your network. In terms of meeting other founders, but also meeting the very players in the ecosystem who could offer you the resources that you need.
Yeah. How will local businesses and organizations play a role in making GW a success?
Goodness, I can't emphasize this enough, but support. Whether that be a fellow ecosystem support organization like us, you'll see some that are doing great work like CC Hub, Impact Tank, the Financial Literacy Initiative, to come out and support the event. I think BaseCamp is working as hard as we can, but we are a small team. I think it's important for all of the players in the ecosystem to play their part by supporting one another and defeating this work of silos. And in terms of private sector, you see a lot of the banking sector also moving into innovation now. Definitely support from the financial perspective. I think seed capital, early stage funding is a serious issue within our ecosystem. Like I said, there's a lot of great ideas, but at the end of the day, as much as we can fight it, a startup founder and their startup needs funding in order to grow and scale. From public sector, I'd say more, again, support and endorsement, but also engagement from a policy perspective, so that we're making an ecosystem that's conducive for our founders to thrive in. Yeah.
I've heard you use the word support a couple of times now. Is there enough support or support systems in place for entrepreneurs in Namibia? Because I think a lot of times with the young people, they're sort of being urged into start your own business, become an entrepreneur. That's all good and well, if you look at the end goal, but the journey there can be treacherous. Are there enough support systems in place in Namibia's ecosystem?
I do just want to say before I answer that question that being a startup founder or owning a business is not for everyone. But obviously, given our current climate, it is so difficult to sit around and wait for something to fall out of the sky and into your lap. So I think the most important thing is for us to applaud and support our entrepreneurs because they need that. In terms of support, I can definitely say that we've got a lot in terms of entrepreneurial development and capacitating. Knowledge sharing is so widespread, including from BaseCamp and other ecosystem support organizations. But again, what I emphasize that is missing is the early stage funding. We cannot run away from the fact that I've got to pay my team. I need money to build a prototype. I need money for marketing. And that is always what we emphasize to partners that come on board for our programs. And indeed, what I can highlight at this point in time is that BaseCamp's series of events for Global Entrepreneurship Week would not be possible without FNB Namibia. So they continue to support our programs and initiatives externally, but specifically for this, they put their foot forward and said, you know, this is the first time that BaseCamp is doing something of this nature because we're program focused, not event focused. But they saw the need to capacitate entrepreneurs and to see, actually engage on the ground and have these conversations and see how is it that we can help you. And not just FNB, but anybody else who could be in the room and say, okay, I actually have so-and-so resources. This is how I can play my part. So the support is great in terms of entrepreneurial development, but we definitely need more in terms of the actual raw materials, resources, funding that our startup founders need to grow and scale.
Fantastic. Well, any just last closing remarks from you this evening?
Closing remarks, please come. Please come. Everything is free. All of the engagements are free. We've got an official launch this Saturday evening. Monday we rest. Tuesday we've got a pitch event. So even if you're looking to build knowledge on how to pitch, how to get investor ready, come to that. It's an engaging event for you to ask questions. The Wednesday we've got a Founders Nexus, a half-day engagement where we've got great panel discussions for people to once more engage, startup exhibitions. We've got the Deputy Minister of Sports, Youth and National Service joining us as well. The Thursday is a private event. It's for our BaseCamp graduates, an award ceremony. But find your pick, see what you need and come through. The resources are there, made available to you, and we're excited to share it. So, yes.
Niita, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Nina, for having me
here.
All right.
We'll be right back after this very brief break. Do stay with us.